Hello there. Hey, this is Ask Alan and Brian. I'm Alan Thompson.
Brian Stevens, good to see you guys out there, or vice versa.
Yeah. And here's what we want to do. We basically are going to talk to you about some of the courses, and we're glad that you're here, but we're going to talk to you about also the industry. We're going to talk to you about life, 5 foundational areas of life, and so forth. So we're going to start with Alan asking Brian. Hey, Brian, how would you value a business?
That's a beautiful question. I'm going to preface it just 1 second because we're going to lead up to some other stuff out there. But imagine you had three: a house, a commercial piece of real estate, and a restaurant. And the house was worth $2 million, and the commercial property is worth $2 million, and this pizza restaurant is worth $2 million also.
Okay.
Okay.
So I got $2 million I could spend on either one.
And the man passes away. The owner passes away.
Wow.
It's sad. He passed away. It's true. He passed away. It's an imaginary story, but it's true in this case. And so his restaurant ends up closing up, and the employees go, and the recipes are gone in his head, and it's gone for 7 months. It comes back on the market. If everything stays the same in the marketplace, what's the house worth? Probably close to.
Well, I mean, the same. It'll be worth about the same.
Pretty close. $2 million. Mm-hmm. And the commercial property, the economy's been flatlined.
About the same.
And now this restaurant, it was worth $2 million because it was based on the fact that it was 4 times earnings. He was making $500,000 in profit every year, but that's all gone. The employees are gone, recipe's gone, but it's full of equipment.
Wow.
Hard to figure out what that is, right?
Right.
So that's why you have to think about businesses, and they're usually tied to a thing called cash flow or existing businesses. In fact, there's 2 things that are called tangibles. One's the tangible things, like the physical stuff that you got in there. Okay. And so when that restaurant closes down, you probably go in and add up what's the steel table worth in the shelf and all that sort of stuff. But when you have an ongoing business, you're looking at this intangible, this magic of customers coming in, recipes flowing out, pizzas being sold, or whatever the product is out there, and it's this ongoing enterprise. And so it's magically looking at the revenues, how it's doing year after year, and what makes it transferable. And you could even have 2 businesses in the same industry that had the same performance the prior year, maybe $3 million in revenues and $500,000 in profit. But one flies off the shelf. Everybody wants to buy it all the time because the owner can be removed easily. They got recurring revenues. The sales have been growing. And the other one is hard to sell because the recipes are in the owner's head. It's tied to the owner, and it hasn't had a great prior set of years, even though the last year was the same. So knowing the details of that multiple and the things that drive valuable, those things that make it more valuable, are tied to the living organism of a business. And a little bit different than for a house or for a commercial property. Make sense?
Okay, yeah. Now, you mentioned something about 4 times earnings. What is that all about?
So you look at, let's say you have a restaurant, and over the last 3 years, it's made $500,000 in profit. EBITDA, there's a different ways, and we won't go into it. But let's just say the owner's profit, one hardworking owner. She takes home $500,000 every year, and that's for the last 3 years. So one of the things, you go to it, and you look at the business, and you say, well, what have other super-powered pizza restaurants performed in the last 5 years? And you say, okay, they sold between 3 and 5 times earnings. And so you begin to get an idea, where do I get that one of those numbers, and how you decide. And that's when we start looking at, is it transferable? Did the owner write down all the recipes? Is everything done? Or is everybody trained on a computer? Like when I worked with 7-Eleven for a period of time, they actually had a video for even how to put the hot dogs on the roller and when to pull them off. 20 minutes later, how to rotate them. Everything was done detailed. Wow. So that makes it more valuable than Luigi has been there, or Llewellyn's been there for 20 years. She knows everything. She does all the salsa from scratch, and the new person has to figure out how to do that. So you sort of look at those multiples, as I said, and I made up the range, but you look at it like 3 to 5 times, and you say, Llewellyn's done a great job. Everything's written down. The people are cross-trained. They've got revenues out there. They have the 3 or 4 different networking groups that meet there every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and that brings another $1,000 a day just on those people alone, the recurring revenues, and you have this magic that makes the business more valuable. So you decide the multiple based on that.
Okay, now let me ask you again. The times the earnings. So you said she was doing about 500,000 a year.
Yep.
So do you take that number and just kind of multiply it by some arbitrary number in the sky, or what?
No, you looked at those other ones that have sold in the past that have sold for 3 to 5 times. You work it backwards on the other ones that have sold in the past. So you look at these variety of pizza restaurants as an example, and you go back and see their earnings and what they sold for. And in this case, I was making up the scenario that on average, the one that sold for the least amount was 3 times that. Let's say the ones that were making $500,000 sold for were doing only 1.5 million, but the really great ones were selling for a much higher multiple. And so you look at these numbers and what the other ones in the past have sold for, and you have a variety, and they look like a bar graph going up and up from the lowest selling up to the highest selling. Those numbers, and you do it based on past ones.
Okay, so if someone calls you out to actually do a valuation, or call them out to do a valuation or business valuation, is that kind of someone easy, or that's something that we dive into, and how deep do you go into it in the courses that we're speaking of?
Yeah, and we're just skimming the surface, of course, about talking about this because to really do a proper valuation, you're going to look at that magic that keeps the business alive, the intent, those things you can't touch but are there, that repeating customer, or the fact that it does the same volume as the other ones, only they're open 5 days a week instead of 7 days a week, or whatever those things are out there. And that magic, we're looking at it, and there's even a lot more you'll go into in our class, accounts receivable and payable, and we could go on, but that's why you need to take the course so you understand more deeply.
Great, so that's business valuations with Brian and telling you about that. And we'll have lots more, but you go to AskAlanandBrian.ai, and you'll get courses that will tell you about business brokerage, commercial, residential, AI made simple, just a lot of things there, mergers and acquisitions. And you need to know these things in order to gain a competitive edge, which is one of the courses that we have there that will allow you to get a competitive edge. So I'm Alan.
And I'm Brian.
And we'll talk to you soon.
See you guys. Bye-bye.